It's mid-July and it's hot around the Lviv region of Ukraine. A freight train loaded with the very volatile, very caustic, very poisonous liquid yellow phosphorus was moving through the area. At about 4 p.m., 15 of its chemical tanker cars weighing 50 tons each derailed and turned over. From the force of the accident, one of them became depressurized. The highly toxic, very flammable phosphorus flowed out, heating up to the surrounding air temperature and ignited. The fire spread, and within a few minutes, 6 tankers were in flames. General alarms are sounded throughout the area. The first team of firefighters and emergency crews started arriving at the crash site. It was critically important to extinguish the burning phosphorus and to isolate the fire from the other tanker cars, or a serious situation is going to get catastrophically serious. During the first few hours after the accident, 16 people were poisoned by the toxic fire, 13 of them seriously, and were airlifted by helicopter to the nearby military medical clinic in Lviv. Firefighters and rescue workers responding to the scene at first don't have the proper chemical suits, and the results are disastrous. In 6 hours, crews had gotten the fire out, but they were careful to continue watering down the tanks in the places where the yellow phosphorus was still pouring out onto the ground. During the night around the accident site, a perimeter was set up. New people and machinery kept arriving. By the morning, the emergency workers, soldiers, and chemical cleanup crews started to block up holes and cracks in the overturned tanks. The tankers' reservoirs were still being constantly cooled, because yellow phosphorus will ignite in the air at a temperature of about 93 degrees Fahrenheit. The forecast called for a high of just over 100 degrees for that day. If they weren't very careful, a new disaster could develop, and develop quickly. The morning of July 17th, the workers begin dismantling blockages on the 150 feet of railway bed, nearly 300 feet of contact network, and the 3 supports that had all been badly damaged during the accident. Pieces of crumpled metal litter the scene. It was difficult, dangerous work that needed to be performed in extremely difficult, dangerous conditions. In addition to the risk of fire, the workers had to be extremely careful, as everything was covered with highly toxic soot. 14 towns and settlements housing some 11,000 people were now in the affected zone. Townspeople started coming to first aid stations complaining of nausea and headaches. 184 people, including 50 children, were hospitalized. Many people started to leave the surrounding countryside, despite the authorities' lame affirmations that there was no real danger. The local population's health problems didn't just disappear even after the authorities reported that all consequences of the accident were under control. For several months, people kept coming to doctors with the same symptoms. Unfortunately, the accident and its subsequent cover-ups, denials of responsibility, and official mismanagement and lack of information cost many people their health and well-being. It was especially hard on old people and children who started showing up at the local medical clinics with mystery sores, lesions, and nausea. Toxic smoke from the fires affected the land, food, and the water supply. Phosphoric Chernobyl is what this accident is often called today. Consequences of this disaster are still being seen in the people, plants, and animals of the affected countryside, and will be for many more years to come.